Awesome. So I would like to, I always like to start with our mission and objectives. So our mission is to strengthen the local veteran and military community. Our objectives are to identify gaps, opportunities, and barriers in service to improve service for veterans and military families. We work to coordinate information on services for veterans and military families. And we educate veterans, military families, and community advocates on community-based efforts and suicide prevention. So we are going to start with introductions. One other thing, last month we did our first VMFA poll with asking a question, kind of like a little icebreaker, and it was well received. So we're going to do another one this month. And this time we're going to ask you, so please introduce yourself, let us know your military connection, or what organization you're representing, and then your favorite holiday beverage. So mine is Starbucks peppermint mocha. Which I just had one. Okay, Paul.
Wow, you got me there.
Sorry, I should have given you a heads up.
I'm Paul Berry with Veterans Bridge Home, Marine Corps veteran. I don't really have a favorite holiday beverage. I will say I've loosened up a little bit and I try those things like that, Brooke, and I can have like one a year because I did have that.
Yeah.
I went and said, you know what, I'll take it. And it was, so I'm just open to trying something once,
Okay.
but I haven't found one I'm sticking with yet.
So no eggnog.
Oh, no, not really. It just gives me heartburn and indigestion at my age.
Hi, I'm Christy, night social worker with the Durham VA. My father was a Navy veteran. My favorite holiday beverage would be something with pomegranate in it.
Yum.
Yeah, that's
great.
true.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm Tony, Marine vet, with Veterans Bridge Home. Here lately, ginger ale around the holidays. But if I had to have something a little harder with ginger ale, it's gonna be coquito.
What is that? The tequila?
Nah, I don't know what it is. It's something that Puerto Rican neighbors be making.
Yeah.
Bring it over.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
about.
My neighbor
No, it's
moved, but I've had.
Coquito.
It was from Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
Yeah, it's a Puerto Rican liquor.
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, sounds
He would
good.
make it.
love in your mouth. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but I like
love.
pomegranate. My wife does everything pomegranate.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
you have to write that one on the list.
Hi, my name is Jocasta and I work for Blue Cross and Blue Shield and I do everything military for the state. My favorite holiday drink is hot chocolate. I'm pretty traditional on that.
I love it. We're gonna do a hot chocolate bar on Christmas at our house.
That's
Ooh,
always
That's
nice.
nice.
You know, all sorts of fun toppings.
It sounds really good. I'm Jessica Stremo. I run Back in the Saddle Equine Services for Heroes. I am a civilian, but proud family member of lots of veterans. And my favorite, I like eggnog. I don't know if it's my favorite. I'll drink one glass of eggnog.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Okay, just
Yeah,
one.
just the one.
Okay. Dr. Prevail?
Hey everyone, Laura Prevail. I have a few military connections, both grandfathers, Army, Navy. My father was drafted to the Army, my mother joined Army, and I'm a civilian. I love anything with ginger, so definitely agree with ginger ale. I did recently have a nice harder beverage with pieces of ginger in it, and I definitely will try to find that again. Thanks
Very
for
nice.
inviting me today.
Glad you could be here. Landry?
Everyone, my name is Landry Young. I am the marketing and outreach manager here at the Joel Fund. I'm also a military spouse. We are stationed here at Fort Liberty. And my favorite holiday drink is just the coffee.
It's a holiday, that's year round.
Well, and on Christmas, you gotta put a little something fun in it.
There you go.
That's my holiday drink.
Nice. Cynthia?
Hi, everyone. I'm not with the military, but my husband was a Marine. And I don't really have a favorite holiday drink, but I do drink a lot of very sweet tea, whether it's hot or cold. I love tea. Thank you.
Do you make your own or do you get, what's your favorite like restaurant to get sweet tea?
I don't, it's just plain sweet tea,
Okay.
with a French vanilla or something like that in it, but that's about it. But that's when it's hot. Now, when it's cold, I just like lemon tea. Yeah,
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you for joining us.
thank you.
Allie?
Hi everyone, I'm Allie Anderson. I am the community care manager here at the Joel Fund. I'm a military brat turned military spouse. My husband and I are stationed at Fort Liberty. And I am a traditionalist too. I prefer the hot chocolate. So
Thank you. Lisa?
Hello, everyone. I am the grants manager at the Joel Fund, and I am an Air Force veteran. I'm also the granddaughter, daughter, and wife of retirees from the military and the mother of 2 active duty at the moment. And I'm grandfathering, and my son-in-law is one of my own kids. So there you go. My favorite beverage for the holidays in general is hot cider. So I make it from scratch, and it's pretty awesome.
I just love hot cider. That was a good one. Jamie?
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Upchurch. I'm the Women Veteran Program Manager at the Durham VA Healthcare System. Happy to be here. And I have a long family history of military, but I personally did not serve myself. And my beverage, so I've been really into seltzer waters here lately, and I've recently found one that's the Polar brand, and there's a cranberry lime version. Yeah, I see some hearts. Yeah. It felt very festive recently. So, and I'm sure you could put something else in there to spike it up a little bit if you wanted to.
My middle child loves the Sprite cranberry. Like that stuff sells out from the stores at the holiday season so fast. That's his. Write that one down. Lauren?
Hey everyone, my name is Lauren Houston. I for Work for Warriors NC. I was about to say NCNG Employment Center. We did recently go through a rebrand, but I'm an Army vet. I'm about to be a soon-to-be military spouse, so I'm excited about that. My favorite drink, holiday drink, I would say eggnog. It's just a classic for me, so I will stick to that.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Carla?
Good afternoon. I'm Carla Jackson. I'm a Navy veteran and I am the Veteran Services Supervisor for Wake County Veteran Services. My favorite splurge drink for the holidays is the toasted white chocolate mocha from Starbucks. And if I want something a little harder, I am a huge fan of champagne.
Like that. Thank you. Now, I know Josh is having some technical difficulties. Josh, are you able to introduce yourself? Does he have audio?
he has 2 profiles that have been popping in and out. I think that's the second one that's on there right now. So hopefully this that just came through is gonna work.
Okay. Josh, are you able to introduce yourself? We can always come back. We'll come back to Josh. He's with the caregiver team at the VA, so we want to make sure he can introduce himself too. But so today's topic, we have 2 panelists here. We're going to talk some. We've had a lot of people asking us about geriatric services for our aging veterans, and so this is a very important topic. We find people asking us all the time about what services are available, and so what I would like to do, Dr. Prevail and Christy are here from the VA Geriatric program team clinic. Thank you. If you would please, Pat. Greg.
Jerry packed up is under that.
Okay, so what I would love for you each to do is introduce yourself. Oh, well, you've already introduced yourself, but talk about your role within the GREC. I'm going to get this before we're done. GRECC. Okay, so Dr. Prevail, will you go first, please?
Sure. Because I guess PowerPoint is one of my love languages. I made a PowerPoint. I could share it on the screen, but I didn't know if that met this group very much. I can definitely just kind of wing it.
You can absolutely share it. I just turned it on. So by all
Okay.
means, please do.
Okay, give me a minute to figure that out. I
Okay.
think I can do it. Let me find it here. It's not a very long PowerPoint. It's like an introduction. I might just leave it on a preview mode if that's so I can see everybody, if that's okay.
Yes.
So, and Christy, I can just go through this, and this PowerPoint ends with a list of programs. So I thought that would be a nice springing off point. And how much time should I spend going through this? Because I could spend 10 minutes, if that's okay, or should I just be brief at this point?
Well, I want to make sure that we can ask questions. I would say give us the overview, and maybe we can use it as a reference with some of the questions too.
Okay. Well, I think just to go through it then, to talk about what GREC is, because GREC is an acronym that's worth spending a little time discussing, because there are 20 GRECs in the country. And in VHA, Christy and I are part of the GREC that's in Durham. So you can see that in Vision 6, there's one GREC, and it's pretty unique as an attraction for people who want to contribute to the field in geriatrics. So, but it also, so a lot of people who join a GREC are researchers, but there are also educators like me and clinicians. I would say like Christy and myself. We do all of the above, but I would say there are some people in GRECs that are principally research driven, but the missions are to build knowledge, new knowledge in geriatric care, improve the care for older veterans through innovative model development, and provide training and education. And that's really the main job I think that Christy and I have, just to make that clear. There's another acronym I wanted to introduce that's GEC, and that's different from GREC. So that might come up in the questions today. That's geriatrics and extended care. So if you're talking about all the other locations in VHA that don't have a GREC, it's mostly you're going to be talking about GEC. So and so that's mainly the clinical arm. So that's where all the home and community-based services, caregiver support has crossover into like a GEC model. So GREC and GEC are separate. Just wanted to mention that. Also, just a couple seconds here on age friendly. This is something to also be aware of. VHA has completely embraced the age friendly movement. And when you're talking about geriatrics, you're talking about age friendly. So I can go more into what this, and so can Christy, if that comes up today in the questions. But I'll just be pretty brief there, just to introduce the 4 M's of age friendly. So we focus on medication, mentation, mobility, and what matters to older veterans in the care that we provide and in the training that we provide. So I'll just stop sharing because I want to be brief, but hopefully that gives like a very brief overview with some visuals. And I can pull up a list of programs if that would help later in our talk today. Just want to hand the microphone over.
That's great. I think so you talked about there's the GEC, and so that someone had told me that there's one in Asheville, is that correct? But in Durham we have the GREC. So as we're working with veterans, if we want to refer them to something specific like a geriatric service within the VA, like how would that look for us as the partner organization? Do they need to see their primary care physician? Can they go directly to your clinic? Like what would be the best way? And Christy, I'll throw that to you.
Sure. So how it works within the Durham VA is most of the time the primary care provider makes a referral to our clinic. We do 2 things in our clinic, and Laura will probably want to take the lead on this, but we provide primary care with a geriatric focused specialty. And then we also do comprehensive geriatric assessments, which somewhat falls under a GC service, but we do it in our GeriPac clinic, which sort of falls under a GC service. And we're able to provide comprehensive visits, looking at the forum framework, if a veteran has a lot of medications, polypharmacy, concerns with memory, depression, mobility, functioning, those type of things. And the primary care provider wants some specific guidance on how to manage this veteran, or just they want to transfer them to us for primary care. That's how they usually come in. Of course, other specialties or providers in the hospital can refer to us, but the majority come from the primary care provider. I have had some veterans, community providers have reached out about, can we get them in your service or seen, or I've had veterans just call and ask, but the majority do come from primary care. And they do need to be in the Durham, at least the Durham VA, they need to be receiving care through one of the VAs for us.
Okay. Do you mind if I just step back for a second? Will you talk about what your role is within this?
Sure. So I'm a social worker, and in our Geriatric clinic, we also have a telehealth clinic, and I have a teaching position. Every year I have a master's level social worker that comes through, receiving, more training in geriatrics, also helping with training for our other learners, the fellows, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, those type of disciplines that come through. And I have some special projects that go on throughout the year, focusing mostly on dementia care, dementia friendliness in the hospital.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Dr. Prevail, did you want to go back and touch on some of the services within the clinic that we were that she was talking about the two?
Yeah, so I think that it is important when you're thinking about geriatrics clinics, like ours do provide both primary care and specialty geriatrics care. Some geriatrics clinics are not providing primary care, so that's an important question when with any care that is sought for an older veteran, making sure that the goal, being clear on that goal. We try to be very flexible, and we try to manage all the chronic conditions, as well as maybe the geriatric syndromes that come into our clinic. So that I think is important, because not every geriatrics clinic is like that. I think just speaking about learners too, emphasizing that E in the GREC acronym, our context of GeriPact, maybe unlike Asheville's context, we are very focused on that education E, where we have quite a few trainees. GeriPacts are somewhat different across VHA. When I talk to other GEC folks and other teams, other GeriPacts, some of the clinics are much larger, some are smaller like ours. So it is unique that in Durham we do have more of an education focus, and that impacts how many veterans we can serve. So just to be kind of honest about that too, I would say that that's a limitation for us, and I'd love to grow our clinic.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because I know we're seeing an increase, so I can only imagine that you all are too. Just in the requests for services that we hear about. Do you all have ways to, for something like hospice or telehealth or something, telehealth, I can imagine you can do in the clinic, but for longer term care or rehab and stuff like that, do you refer out? Or are there, how do you handle some of those other needs that we see with our aging veterans?
That would be a Christy question. I can say that we do a lot. There are, I would say other people on this call also could answer that question in terms of finding support in the community with contracted facilities. And that's all I'll say.
Yeah, we have palliative care. We could probably do a whole presentation on all the different geriatric services. We have palliative care and hospice services at RVA. But if you're wanting home hospice, we refer out to that. Dr. Prevail does the providers. I'm not able to do that, but the primary care doctor, the GeriPact primary care provider would make that referral to a community agency. And then we have our CLC, where we have hospice beds for veterans that qualify for hospice care and have skilled needs, and the families, if they're not able to manage them in the home, the needs have become too great. I can help place a veteran in a nursing home in the community that we have a contract with. But I find a lot of our caregivers, they do want to try to keep their loved one home. So I try my best to get them as many services to help them succeed in doing that, like respite care, homemade, pick up where maybe the home hospice service isn't able to provide that. So linking veterans and caregivers with services within the VA and then also in the community.
So just kind of a side note on that, because it's something that we do get asked about, the aging in place and homemade and stuff. Do you have groups that you work with that have special programs for veterans, or is it just general that you refer to? Or
A little complicated. We have the VA has a home aid program, home respite program, adult day health care. And there are a whole separate area of social workers that coordinate all that.
Okay.
But I do assessments and work with families on trying to secure, that program in the home. But the VA doesn't have its own home aid program or its own home respite program. These are agencies in the community that have agreements or their vendors or contracts, that type of thing.
If we wanted to be able to help a veteran, like a caregiver or someone find that, should we refer them to the caregiver team, which we do a lot of work with?
Sure, yeah.
What would be our line to connect them to these partners that you have in the community?
The caregiver team, with the caregiver support coordinators, or I don't know if you all have a relationship with any of the primary care social workers, but if a veteran's enrolled in the VA with primary care, their primary care social worker is that point of contact.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Josh said you can always reach out to us. Thank you, Josh.
And
Okay.
are you seeing the chat too? There's a question in there and some comments, just pointing those out. I can answer that question. Is there a set age at which a veteran becomes eligible for this type of care? Technically that I would say 65 is sort of the textbook kind of when, kind of retirement age. We tend to skew whoever has a geriatric syndrome, then we can help them. So if somebody develops, for example, dementia before age 65, we definitely have veterans in our clinic that we're serving with those needs. And even veterans, one of the programs that I really respect and appreciate being involved with is the Caring for Older Adults and Their Caregivers at Home program. And that is a social work and nurse-led home intervention for veterans living with dementia. That is also for veterans who have primary care in VA and a moderate dementia diagnosis. But plenty of those veterans are even below a few below age 60, unfortunately, but we serve those veterans. And then shout out to Josh D. Caregiver support program always wants to be reached out to. And we always reach out to them too, to try to connect people to services.
Thank you. Yeah, Josh is saying the PACT social worker, as Christy mentioned, is the best POC for inquiring about homemaker home health aid program, which can provide a VA contracted CNA to come to the home to help with a veteran who has ADL needs. Awesome. Thank you. So we have a lady who, one of our Vietnam veterans, who this is her big push, is trying to educate people about the services. And so I had shared with Christy an email she had sent me, and I just want to make sure that I touch on some of these things. She talked about whole health, veteran directed care, the GREC, the GeroFit exercise program that's really popular at the Durham VA. She mentioned the dementia caregivers, aid and attendance. I would love to, do you mind sharing a little more about the GeroFit? It sounds great. I mean, the fact that it's so popular, it's either one, whoever would like to answer.
Yeah, I know that the Durham VA GREC was the birthplace of GeroFit, and now it exists like all over the country. And it is a wonderful program for veterans who can participate in group-based exercise activities, and they also have online options. And there's some really energetic people that are in the same hallway where Christy and I work that are constantly, hosting people online for exercise. And The metrics and outcomes are excellent in terms of keeping people independent longer and staving off dementia with regular physical activity, of course, and that's deeply rooted in whole health. I don't know if there's other history that Christy wants to add to about GeroFit.
It started through, as Laura mentioned, our birthplace under Greg. So it's like an innovative type project years ago, and it was a Shark Tank winner. Don't know if y'all are familiar. VA has its innovation program. So it's kind of like the program Shark Tank winner. And they just secured a contract with the YMCA in Durham. So they are now able to go back to in-person exercise at the Y in Durham. And then, as Laura mentioned, they do virtual, they reach a wider audience with the virtual GeroFit. Yes, it's a very popular program.
Do they get connected with that through Whole Health, or would that be through your team?
Usually through their primary, a lot of our veterans, I don't know how many our clinic can actually participate in it, because it's more for the higher functioning veterans, but usually primary care clears them and says they're, healthy, they're okay to participate in GeroFit.
Okay, great.
But we certainly, if we identify anyone, we send them their way. So.
And Matt asked if we could get the PACT social workers contact information. Does that mean you?
The Geriatric, there are many of them.
Yeah.
There are so many PACT teams. Every PACT or patient aligned care team or primary care team unit has a social worker affiliated, either partially or fully. So I would say there's hundreds of PACT social workers.
Hey, this is Matthew. I asked that question. Thank you. So if the veteran is already going or is, as you said, registered with the VA, he's qualified, he's going to a community-based primary care, that's where he should or she should start with that primary care, or can he jump into one of your social workers?
For geriatric services?
Yeah, dementia, I guess, if that's.
Well, I'm the social worker for Geriatric, but there are other social workers affiliated with other primary care providers at the VA. Does that make sense? I mean, they can certainly reach out if they have a question. I can, guide them or direct them where they need to go. Does that make sense, Matt?
I guess so, but again, could they speak to their primary care, and then hopefully they're in the VA health system, so they should reach out to the experts.
Right, their primary care provider, can certainly direct them to whoever is assigned to their doctor.
Okay.
And we will have, we try to put just email addresses in our follow-up email. And if you would prefer that, not, it's totally fine either way.
That's fine.
But that way, if someone does have a question, they can reach out to you and ask. So Matt, that will be in the email too.
Or even my phone number. Sometimes the VA, when it comes to email, I may not recognize it and I don't click on it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So.
And even Josh is putting some notes in here, Matt, saying that they can also reach out through their My Healthy Vet. So we'll have all of this information in our follow-up email. Veteran is assigned to a primary care team in the best port of entry for initial service. Okay, PACT team. Okay, this is great information. Holy cow. It's so hard to fully understand. And so having these very specific conversations is important to kind of understand the process. So, because these are the community partners working with veterans, and we want to make sure that
primary care drives everything for that veteran.
Yeah. I want to make sure anytime someone has a question, please jump in and ask it, whether it's on chat or just raise your hand. But Dr. Prevail, did you want to go through the programs list? I know you had said you could save that for later on.
Sure. I think I'll pull up this list of programs, but it will probably be Christy and maybe others on the call who will say more about eligibility. But let me go ahead and share that. I can speak to a couple things, but I feel like the visual aid helps because it is so detailed. There are so many programs, and this is not a comprehensive list. So let me get back on here. Did that work? Can you see the list? Okay. kind of made this slide thinking about the way that I think of GREC/GEC programs. And I put little asterisks near the ones that I'm the most involved with in Durham that I can maybe speak more about if there are questions, but it is good to think about what is occurring in a clinic setting, an outpatient setting, in my mind. So as Christy said, there's, palliative care clinics. There's also our Geriatric clinic. And then we have even very specialized types of clinics offering geriatrics care as part of GREC. There's one that's called the POSH clinic. That's only for older veterans who have scheduled surgery coming up in VA. They get seen in that clinic as part of their anesthesia process. So that's a very specialized model of care example. Just threw that on there as a kind of in the clinic example. And then the two other lists are things that happen in the veteran's home and things that might happen in a facility-based setting. So I'm not sure if you can see all that or if you're seeing yourselves on my screen.
No, we can see it perfectly.
Okay.
Would you be willing, I love this slide. Is this something that you would be able to email to me as separately so that we could include it in our follow-up email?
Sure, I'll gladly send this. There's 12 slides in here and it has our contact info if that would be helpful for folks to, look at some of the web links and things also. But I don't know if there's any other questions specific about these programs now. Should I leave this up now or do you want it for later?
I say leave that up for a second. I think that's great for everyone to kind of absorb and I'll leave it for a second, see if there's any questions on this.
I've heard people say, mention veteran-directed care, that's a newer program in my awareness. I don't know if people are aware of that, but that's also just a very small program at this point, my understanding. And in terms, we haven't really talked about home-based primary care. I'm not directly involved with that, but that's something that for veterans who are really needing to stay at home, have difficulty traveling to a clinic appointment, that's another model of primary care that is under GEC that's available for older veterans. So that would be a different kind of home-based primary care team, not necessarily the PACT model. And that is a model that VHA, my understanding, is trying to grow nationally. So that's one to be aware of as well.
With the Garner clinic opening up next year, do you anticipate there being any expansion on services, or will they have any geriatric specific services there?
I'm not sure the answer to that question, but I think that there are some internal factors and personnel changes that are expected with regard to geriatrics, and there may be a new position opening and the person in that position might make that decision, not me. So I could see, because we serve so many veterans that are east of Raleigh and in Greenville through the coach program, I could see there definitely is a need. The more we can expand, the better. So I would expect there to be something, but I can't tell you definitively who's going to make that decision and what will happen, just with all of the many factors with, related to who might be hired and what they want to grow. So I know it's kind of it's hard to answer that question. I'd love to say just emphatically yes, but I can't.
That's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot with it, but I like to know, kind of get an idea of what maybe you may know is coming or not. So, does anyone have any questions about any of these? I mean, there's so many more that I feel like I could ask that are probably better offline, but based on this list. Anyone? I'll leave it open for a second. I think this is great. I think some of these questions that are on this list are I know that she has questions that have to deal more with everyday care, not so specific to something like dementia or, you know, like she has on here, GYN for seniors, you know, things that have a geriatric focus, but may not be as, you know, big as dementia. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Does that make sense? Where the care is as high level. But just seeing doctors who truly understand what someone is going through at a specific age. And that's kind of been our conversation that we've had. So I know she was trying to get some clarity on that. And hopefully we've helped answer some of those questions. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big,
I know.
broad subject
Yes.
that I went through this years ago, about 5 years ago, right before COVID, with the Fayetteville VA community. And we had very similar, almost the same kind of people on the same kind of, and that's back when he called it, you know what I mean? There was no team or Zoom. What we ended up doing was we did a mini summit on this, like a half day, like a 4-hour summit. We had lunch, and then we did like from 1 to 4 or 3:30 to 4. And what was really the most beneficial was, because there's so many scenarios, was we got panel experts and it talked about a lot of scenarios. My father's this, my uncle's that.
Yes.
How do I, you know, what if they are not enrolled in VA healthcare? How do I convince someone with dementia? Do they have a power of attorney, you know, to get them enrolled? You go way down the rabbit hole. Because there's some other folks that would probably want to be here too. I know DMVA has the nursing homes. There's the North Carolina Assisted Living Association. There's a handful of others, I think, that would want to come to the table. I don't know.
Brenda's planning one. She's working with,
well, then we'll just help
with
Brenda.
Brittany.
Okay.
And they're gonna do it in one of the northern counties. They're looking at March and maybe Granville County.
Then we'll just support
Yep,
that.
yes.
Then
But
I'm
that's
with,
exactly what she's
yeah,
trying to do.
it was just, it was like, the same thing happened where it's like, geez, I got 1,000.
There's a lot of clinical scenarios.
There's so much,
Yeah.
it was the clinical scenarios that really helped, like a nonprofit like me, where we kind of had a couple, like 2 calls prior to kind of get the scenarios and let the experts, the social workers kind of do it. And then they just discussed these scenarios. And then we left like 45 minutes for just open discussion because it brought up even more. And the email traffic went back and forth for weeks because it's, look, I got this family member, I've got this veteran, I got this. And it really helped take, I think, from the nonprofit sector to the VA, and it kind of just, it took all that mystery away. You know,
Right.
you know, about workflows and paths and primary cares and how to just bring it all in. And that, you know, while the VA is big, there's also kind of a no wrong door. Sometimes if you're getting close to the door, you're gonna get in the door. And that people need to have that confidence that, you know, push it in through your primary care and they know where to go. Just if Brenda's doing it, then Brooke, I'm all about it.
Yeah, I'll circle back around with her.
I mean, I don't want to get in her lane. I know she's deeply committed to this.
Yes, for sure.
For sure, for many reasons, so.
One of the questions that I always like to end with is, you know, how as community partners can we help fill the gaps or, you know, help facilitate things in the community for you all? So any advice or guidance on that you can think of? Dr. Prevail?
Yeah, well, just speaking, you know, I did have an appointment at our academic affiliate, and then so I was doing kind of both sides of the street because the Duke University Hospital is across the street, but now I'm 100% VA because I'm committed to the mission. So keeping those lines of communication open in that example and being a resource for my colleagues, either that I've been involved in their training, that to me, that's part of it, maintaining relationships and learning from Christy and other expert social workers what I can do as a provider to message the positive connections and see what scenarios that we can come up with. So I think for community organizations, I think it is just making sure you're aware of the people who exist. I mean, there are so many just bright stars in the Durham VA that do outreach that I've come in contact with, that I think that just having those conversations is the way you're breaking down the silos and building connections. So I'm not sure. I don't know that I'm the example. I just feel honored to be invited to be a part of this conversation, and hopefully it'll help some veterans achieve a connection and better care, maybe at home where they want to be.
For sure.
I think it's nice to know that what the resources are in the community for the geriatric population specific, for veterans. It seems like lots of times, there aren't as many. I find, I have folks that have transportation needs, or, I had a veteran and his spouse needed someone to help with yard work, and they're in a rural area, and I called around, and just little simple things that could keep folks, sustained in their homes, the little type things that go a long way. Social outlets, we have a lot of folks that are isolated in their home, and just trying to find the resources or knowing where to go would be really helpful.
Nonprofit, the senior network. They, I don't know how familiar anybody is with it, but Melanie.
Yep.
Yeah, the senior network. Their address is here.
Yeah, it's an acronym, of course.
Yep, but they
I'll find it.
They do a couple events a year, but what was most impactful, and there were a bunch of retired social workers, hospice, and during COVID, you started seeing these stories on TV about people dying in their homes, like because of loneliness and isolation. These ladies all got together and just said, we're gonna figure out technology and we're gonna solve this. So they'll send someone over just to have coffee on a Saturday sometimes.
But they're not gonna put them in bed together.
No.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because they're all, sorry, not the judge, we're all 75 plus. But some of the assisted living facilities, one close to Wakefield High School, for example, I went there earlier in the year, and they invited anyone veteran or veteran connected, or just anyone who was interested to just talk about veterans and services. And so we brought in one of the county veteran service officers. I think someone from Durham came, I don't remember now, and then myself, and it was, out of all of it, and I went there wasn't a lot of people. I was like, oh, but I started talking to this lady, and her husband had passed. They had been divorced, but they were married for so long. She was eligible for survivor benefits and didn't even know it. And just hats off to the Durham VA. So when I got that over there, they pounced all over this for her. And she was not technology savvy at all. The only way you could do is meet her in person and a little bit over the phone, because she was very up in age. But hats off to the Durham VA flexing to be able to help her, again, talking as community partners to say, you don't email her a form, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So actually, I know one of the county VSOs went to her in person and sat with her on their way home, and just sat with her for a while, with over a cup of coffee, and just talked her through what we're going to do.
That's
So
great.
so just little things like that, but then you arm that facility now, the leadership, they have social worker too. Now they're armed with our information, and now they know how to reach out, because it's both ways too. I would think coming out of the VA would be, some of these folks, they're getting great services from the VA, but they may go back to a situation where community partners can help them, particularly the isolation and the loneliness.
So I have just what you're talking about. Josh just put in the chat that the VA has a new program initiative called Compassionate Care Corps. And it's for combat loneliness. So it's a phone resource where volunteers that are trained will call lonesome veterans and chat with them.
Nice.
So we have a veteran who's been coming to our coffees, which we do. We have one next week. So that's an option for your veterans. For a lot of them are Vietnam era veterans. But he just moved to the area from downtown Raleigh. It's just, he has shared the story, but he had to move because his house was in disrepair and he couldn't afford to fix it. He was inside the Beltline. And moved to Rollsville because that's what he could, after selling his house. And he was looking to meet people. He was so lonely. He met another veteran sitting right next to him in our coffee. And the other veteran pulled out his phone and he's like, what's your phone number? He's like, I'm gonna call you every day. So now knowing that there's an actual program that exists, I think that's incredible, because they set it up right here at our coffee event, but it's so needed. And so I love to see that there is a program that they can do this and help.
And Wake County Sheriff Willie Rowe is a career Army military police officer veteran, and he has that 65 plus elderly Wake County residents just wellness checks. Just, you can get on a list and they just do a wellness call, and they have, of course, credentialed staff behind that, you know, you
Right.
can't just do a program and not be connected to social workers and other services with the county, but, I saw him recently and they have good success with that. Some of those people are veterans and they really enjoy that just that quick check-in. And then, of course, they have protocols in place, like they call once, there's no answer, they call twice, there's no answer, it's like some protocols. But there's been times where people, they're not necessarily, they were to the point where they didn't even want to answer the phone. And maybe not suicidal, but I didn't even want to answer the phone. But that knock on the door from somebody who's trained, you know, that has a little bit, and just that little check-in. I mean, you're extending people's lives when you do that kind of work. You're giving them just a conversation on the front porch, you know, extends their life because somebody cares. So I like that program too. And he said he would do it, you know, like the sheriff's busy and he's hard to get a hold of, it's Wake County, but things like this, he had said, you know, hey, let me know, do I get plugged into the VA, Joel Fund, whatever, so. I think they want to help with that too. They want to be just as much, you know, community and service and engagement than they are, you know, as you think, people running around with guns, serving warrants. They also want to engage the community, particularly the elderly, because the 55+ numbers in Wake County are skyrocketing. People are moving here that are 55+. So we're going to have a ton of aging veterans in the next 15 to 20 years. We're going to have to be ahead of that with programs and services. We're going to have to expand.
Yeah. Christy, the group that Paul was talking about, it's called SING, Senior Information and Networking Group. And they do a big conference up here in Lake Forest every year. But that would be one, I would look at their website and that would be a great resource for you. And if you ever have resources that you would like to share with us, as community partners, please let us know. So this was great. Just opened the door a little, right? Yes.
I do have a general question. When you're doing events like that, how is the process of getting word of mouth? Is that how we tell veterans that you have these type of programs available for them and getting attendance? The reason I bring that up is because we did something at our locations across the state. We do recognize that in our senior population, loneliness is a huge issue. So we did like a veteran bingo where, you know, it was building camaraderie, finding other like-minded folks and just giving them a space to communicate, build relationships and try to, you know, get them out of their homes. While we had some attendance, I noticed that it takes time to build it, and we're trying to make sure that it also letting people know that the ones that are the most in need of it, how do you reach them?
I don't have the answer. Our last resource fair was a flop. I don't know.
No, it was not. No, it was not. No.
From a number standpoint.
I don't know. It was not. No, you know what? Because we met providers.
Yes.
And we shared their contact
But in
details.
terms of getting people to attend,
I mean,
we had
that's
like
always,
20.
I mean, that's always gonna be, people, it still has to be a need. Listen, the people who needed it showed up.
You're right.
Yeah.
It was not a
Fair
flop.
enough.
It was not, because I showed up.
I know.
And I needed to be there because I needed the numbers. I had met a lot of good people that I met.
Yes.
And that was impactful because look how good the VBL turned out.
You're right. You're right.
Come on.
Okay, fair enough. I take it back. I take my statement back. But I just don't know what the secret sauce is, right? Like we've tried, like the first year we did our resource fair, there were over 100 veterans.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then the second year it went down, the third year it was at 20. So I don't know how to answer that, but
Timing,
yeah.
I think now with social media, I think for me, like, cause I work from home, you gotta join, like, you gotta go on Facebook, Eventbrite, Twitter.
Yeah.
Instagram, even though you might not wanna do it.
Yeah.
You gotta connect with veterans there because a lot of them go there to get their information.
Yeah.
And just put it out there, like, hey, if you hosting a bingo night, it's free to post it on Eventbrite.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm having it here, or join a Facebook group, or, you know, or a mom's page, and say, hey, if you have veterans here that have A, B, C, and D, we're hosting it here.
Yeah, and anytime someone in the community has something to share, we put it on our Vmfa page. So, and we, you know, try to blast that out too. So if there's ever an event, I see Christy just posted that they didn't have any veterans show up. Share those things with us. I mean, that's why we have that page, and then we do push it out to our community. But
It's stolen too.
what I've been telling people in these meetings, because we're starting to hear this a lot, follow each other like just within our group, follow each other on LinkedIn, on social media, share each other's posts, get the word out about all of these things. What I am seeing is that the more people share something, the more people will attend. So I think we just have to constantly push it out.
Yeah, the chat, you know, it's like, we know this is going on, and then when we're working with a veteran, it's how to weave that in sometimes too. They're just, you know, sometimes, they're facing like eviction or something, so telling them to go to an event is not probably the thing to do, but yeah, Antonio's got, it's just, you gotta, social media, just gotta push it, cause I see like Landry just pushes so much good stuff. And I like it. I get enough about algorithms that, it gotta push it, because once you get over a certain number, then it explodes. And a lot of it's a word of mouth. And it's tough to do that, to stay current, but a lot of, we help, all of us help veterans and their families, and it's like, well, how can I give back? A lot of them is just, hey, encourage the veterans that don't come to these events to get the information to them. Call them, text them, cut and paste, whatever, and send it so they're more aware, because that's what it is. There's just this big percentage that just will not ask for help. And that's including my generation too. Even the younger generation just will not go to anything, and they will not ask for help. But if you get the right battle, now that person that's close to being their battle buddy, they're able to do it. And I've seen for some of the things like the VBLs is just tell them this, go pick your buddy up, get them a cup of coffee, don't give them an option, just drive them there and let them talk to the VA. Because the VA of 30 years ago was not the same VA. Have them sit down with somebody at the VA at an event like a VBL, and they'll come out of there and roll the PACT Act, roll this, they had no idea. They come out of there all pumped up, like, hey, this was great, but it's tough.
It's always that first step, though.
Yeah.
No matter
It's
what
that first
the
step,
activity
it's
is.
crazy.
It's crazy.
But that's why I
That
think it's
first
also
step
important to
is
educate
never-
the family members too, because sometimes they'll, if it's not a battle buddy, maybe they'll listen to a
At the
family.
VBLs, I prefer to talk to partners or spouses,
50.
and not the veterans. Let the veteran go off and do their thing, and if a spouse comes over, I'll talk to him or her and arm them with all this stuff, because they're more likely to be able to get them to do something.
Are Dr. Prevail and Christy, are you familiar with VBL, the Veterans Benefit Live event? So they do it in Cary, every year. They do them across the state.
Something in the
Yeah.
lobby about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the outreach folks, it's everywhere. It's more of it's a VBA.
Yeah,
But
but I
it's-
get my uncle to go that.
Yeah, but Jamie's always there with,
okay.
yeah, whole health is there, Jamie's there.
Yeah, the VA has a very big presence with all the different teams and
Yeah,
everything.
it's a VA event.
Yeah, but it's, they saw what, 1,200
some?
1,200 in 3 days this
3
year.
days.
So it's definitely a great, and while they're waiting, because they walk in, they get a number. So all of our, we're all there surrounding the room with a table so they can learn about services while they're waiting for their number to be
The
called.
VA gets hundreds, PACT Act enrollment,
Yeah.
lots of screening and
Talking about
burn
the
pit
veterans staying out
registries.
here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm burn
yeah,
pit, I'm
the
campus, I'm all
Yeah,
that. Like,
that's huge.
they come
And the
in.
Herbert C. Young Center.
Yeah.
that's the biggest
And
one.
those
And I
tables,
think
once
it's
the
the
word
biggest
gets
one
out,
in
the
the nation. I
tables
know
are full,
people
because
flying from all
that
over.
takes them down a path
I've heard
towards
people flying
benefits.
from like, I've heard one year a guy flew in, I think from Nevada.
Oh, yeah.
I came from Michigan, Mississippi last month. I think I came, that's all over.
So, well, I think, this is great information. I think we just continue to have this conversation. Paul, do you mind spending a minute? Oh, I don't have those slides pulled up.
I'm good.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the NC Serve?
Yeah, I can do it super quick. I know, because
Yeah.
I know we're coming
And we'll
up.
share the slides.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
everyone.
we're coming up on time. So for NC Serves in the Triangle area, which is the 9 or 10 counties that do it year to date. The community with NC Serves has served a little over 800 veterans, 819, but what's really great is it's a little over 2,000 total services. So that's over 2.5 services per veteran this year, which really hats off to all the community partners, because they're talking back and forth and they're addressing co-occurring needs, which is just great that they're not just going and having a transactional interaction with the provider. They're having a discussion and then they refer them to another partner, which is great. And the resolution rate is really good at almost 74% to do it. And I pulled up a little bit about, mental health, physical health, wellness, and substance abuse, because we track all these subtypes. But year to date, we've actually assisted 66 Triangle area veterans with mental health. And that seems like a low number, but it's actually not. When you consider the importance of it in the screening and all that too. And then I'll jump real quick to an event, that Carla on here may know, but on the 21st of December at the South Wilmington Street Men's Homeless Shelter at 7 p.m., they actually do a homeless memorial for those who've passed and were unrecognized as homeless. That includes veterans. It's
Wow.
powerful.
Yeah, Carla had to hop, so
Yeah.
I wish she could elaborate on that.
Yeah, they don't put a lot out about it, and normally it's like if you know, you know, and if you don't, because they don't want fanfare, they don't want the news there, they don't want nothing. And it's short and to the point, and it's always in the evening, it's cold, it's dark, but it'll really drive home like why we do this. Like I went to it before, like, wow, this is powerful, and it just drives home why we all just need to work and collaborate.
Yes.
So,
for
thank
sure.
you, bro.
Thank you. Does anyone else have an announcement before we end of the year? Anything going on? Someone wants to share?
We have some TJF announcements.
Go for it.
Operation Art Spring Session 1 registration will open up tomorrow at 9 a.m. So if you are not already on the Operation Art newsletter list, you can kind of opt in on the website or stay tuned on social media. I'll have a link going out at 9 a.m. so you can register for a class if you want to attend. We are also doing our 2024 impact survey. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now for everyone joining online. This will just take about 7 minutes. And once you finish the survey, you'll be entered into a raffle. We'll have 3 winners that will get a $25 gift card. And our next VMFA meeting will actually be the Veterans Housing Symposium. So this will be kind of an extended VMFA meetings talking about housing topics. It'll be about 2 hours with lunch starting at 11:30. So it'll be 11:30 until 2 p.m. I'm going to include a flyer for this in the follow-up email going out this afternoon. But yeah, it'll be really great. So we hope to see you all there.
Talking about recruiting people. So the housing VMFA meeting is always, I mean, we could go on for hours because there's always so much to discuss. So what we've done is we're working with HUD-VASH, we're working with Wake County Veteran Services to put together 2 panels. One panel will be about different options for veterans in need for housing. And then the other panel discussion is going to be focused on how and why people should accept vouchers for veterans. So we're trying to get landlords to come, people in real estate who, a lot of people own, rentals and stuff like that, and try and educate the public also. But it's going to be open to people who work with veterans. It's going to be open to veterans themselves. So community partners, that sort of thing. The first 20 who register for in-person, we're gonna have to cut it off at 20 just for space. Next year we'll have more space, but this year it'll just be 20. And then if it's successful, we will look at doing it at a different facility and maybe like a half-day event, but we really wanna get this conversation going. So we're very excited about this event, and we will be sending out the flyer, so please share it. And then one other quick announcement, we have our coffee event next Wednesday. Normally it's the 4th Wednesday, but because of the holiday, we're doing it on the 18th, and we will be having a stuffing contest. So if you have a favorite stuffing recipe that you want to share, instead of a chili cook-off, we're going to be doing stuffing. And we will have an award for the winner, whoever gets the most votes. So please come in person. And anyone else have anything they want to add? Okay, thank you everyone, and happy holidays. We will see you in January.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you said something earlier about resources. Someone showed me something. Brooke, do you have any more of these books? Because if not, I'll get Brooke.
Yeah.
I have them on truck.